Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the sixth round of the EERC Endurance Championship here at the Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans. And it is a full 24-hour race. This is going to be a big one for the first season of the EERC. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, and joining me in the commentary box for the first few hours, Mr. Ed Hunter. Ed, good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon, Alex. I'm really excited to be watching this race at Circuit de la Sarthe between a great field, a really big field for this race of LMP2 teams and, of course, the GT3 sport teams as well, who are always competitive around the Mans, seemingly, no matter whether it's real or virtual.
Very much the case, Ed, and obviously with our broadcast director being Ross Smith, based in the good old US of A, we'll have Chris Buxton and Ryan Ferris, and I think also James Smith will also be joining us at some points during the broadcast. Qualifying currently underway. We have 41 cars, that is 24 LMP2s and 17 GT3s. We have 146 drivers, with teams running as high as 5 to 6 competitors in one particular team. And this is the big one. This is where it's going to really count. 24 hours, 8.467 miles, 13.626 kilometers, and a total of 38 corners, including the famed Dunlop curves, the Dunlop Bridge, Tetra Rouge, and so many others. And Ed, from a perspective of qualifying, it doesn't really matter where you qualify, it's where you end up finishing. And as with the Le Mans, it always ends to choose the winners, let alone those having the optimum strategy to get things going, wouldn't you say?
And I remember you just saying there's 24 cars there. That makes it, if there's a 24-hour race, we could have a car drop out every hour and we'd still have a race until about the last hour if there's just one car left. But yeah, it's such a fabulous circuit as well. Obviously, although chicanes put in I think the early 90s down the Mulsanne Straight to slow down speed, but still it's really fierce and such a challenge. And like you say, in a 24-hour race, qualifying does not always take as much precedence as it would at, say, a street circuit like Monaco, where it's really difficult to overtake. But there's still that advantage of starting on the front foot and being able to build a lead up over your rivals in that early phase of the race. That could really help out later on. So definitely, you still want to be on pole here, just like any other race.
Yeah, really good to see some of the people already looking on the official EERC YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining us. We've had a comment by the name of Mr. Coffolino. If the commentators survive 24 hours, I'll be impressed. I think out of everybody, I've drawn the short straw, haven't I? I've got the graveyard shift. I'm starting at 2000 British Summer Time, all the way through to around 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. I think yourself, you're doing until about 6:30, 7 o'clock this evening, Ed, and then
that's mainly because that's when the family breaks for dinner. And also, the main reason I can't go overnight is because they'll keep my family up. They've been raging at me whenever I stay up late till like 11 doing podcasts.
That's what you see. So. Oh, a bit of a moment there from one of the Eureka's, one of the LMP2s, heading into. I think that was probably close to.
That was the orange liver. I think that might have been one of the Mayer Downward racing cars, or Frinavon, who are also very bright orange. We've got a couple of bright orange cars, actually.
We have got quite a few. There is an official EERC spotters guide of all 41 cars, and I've been looking at quite a lot. Obviously, 100% Eureka, as here is Don Tranquille in the Eureka SRD Esports number 53. Now,
he's abandoned that lap quite early.
Well, the thing is that they can escape during qualification, but it's a very different category altogether during the race itself, which gets underway at 1400 British Summer Time, 1500 Central European Summer Time, and Dom Tranquille at the moment running in P13 on a 3-minute 29.839. And then we have a look at the time of the top sheets. Then Nakib Aslan from Axel Sports in the number 21 Eureka has done a 3-minute 25.003. Then it's Zoltan Boda from the Pimps Racing PIMPS or Pimps Racing Hungary number 23. Roland Zux from Fancy Esports 66. Che Hatch and Pribeg Zolt from IDOS 317 and Fancy Esports 88. There's Alexis Spirichev in the RSS Unison Racing number 17. The sole Aston Martin, I might add, with 9 McLarens, 6 BMW M8s, and a Porsche for good measures. So the 720S GT3 being used. Here's Magnus Gunnerup in the 360 McLaren. In the 61, currently 11th in class on a 4-minute 10. He's had an improvement by about 4.33 seconds down off of the pole sitter. There's Michael Raza from Random Racing in the number 13 McLaren, currently on a personal best of a 3-minute 55.867, 9th in class at the moment. So it's going to be quite interesting here, isn't it, Ed? Because the gap between Aslan and Zoda is about half a second, and that's quite a lot of time here at La Sarthe.
Yeah, of course. Pimps Racing Hungary and Axel Sports, 2 really strong teams. Pimps Racing, of course, didn't quite get. There was, I think, when I was watching them last time at Hockenheim, they ran into a bit of trouble. So they'll be hoping to do a little bit better here. They were definitely quick at stages in that race. As we see a purple first sector from Naquib Aslan in the Axel Esports LMP2 to number 21. It's at 31.951 in the first split. So because see if he can make something of this lap. I have a feeling that he may be able to break into the 3:24s here.
That could be a high 3-minute 24. That's the team of Alistair Young, Mika Hakimi, Nakib Aslan, who is behind the wheel at the moment, and Nabil Aslan. Obviously, there is a sister car to this, and when I mention the name Alex Young, you might know who that is. Also, Mikko Nassi, formerly was residing in Finland. He is now based in Singapore, in Southeast Asia, and he was actually one of the competitors in the recent Rotax Sim Racing Challenge, which took place a few months ago. I just happened to be the commentator on it, and he's actually a former karter as well, but he's transferred very well to the sim racing world. Here's Mikael Raza, again in the Random Racing number 13 McLaren. Looks to have improved on Sector 2 as he's heading down the far part of the Mulsanne. We're coming into the last half of qualification here. So at the moment, it is Aslan, Boda, Skooks, Hatch, Salt, Robbins, Silvasi, Perwin, Kalosai, and Denham that have actually got the top 10 at the moment, with Clark, Robert, and Bosmic. And then we look down to GT3. Ed, what's the running order down there at the moment?
Well, the best lap in GT3 is a 3 minutes 52.444 by Jerry Kovacs. And I believe Jerry Kovacs is, I'm just scrolling down the time screen to get to the GT3 cars. But yeah, it's there we go. I believe I may have actually, yes. So Gergo Kovacs is in 19th place overall, I think.
Yeah.
The car ahead of him is the LMP2. Is the, oh no, it's the BMW, is it?
James Juba.
Of course, they won last time out in the GT3 class at Hockenheim. So the Abstinio Force Bologna team, who were having a bit of trouble previously, earlier in the season in like the first 5 races, finally got that first win at Hockenheim. Mm-hmm. And they've been showing great pace all season, and they're doing it again here in they set pole at Hockenheim too, so I would not be surprised. That's a 3 minutes 52.646 in that BMW. So James Juba really on fire at the moment. From Gergo Kovacs in the Fancy Esports car, and number 2, he's about 4 tenths down on James Juba. Then we have Jesper Eriksson for the IDOS number 117. Mm-hmm. Billy Eisman in the GRG Esports McLaren number 97. Michael Wozniak, Soul Sport Racing number 14. Fernet Christine Kibai in the Fancy Esports number 28. Then we've got Sandol Lengiel. Sorry if I'm Lengiel.
Lengiel, yeah, Lengiel.
Yes, in one of the GT3 Pimps Racing cars.
Yeah.
And then I think rounding out the top 8 or so. How many have I done so far?
Yeah, we got Christian Lewis in the IDOS 217 McLaren GT3 currently rounding out the top 26. Looks like Spidichev in the RSS Unison Racing Aston Martin is P29, so that really rounds out the top 10. Spidichev has done a 3 minute 56.641 as we go on board with Michael Raza, who rounds out the top 10. Personal best so far from the number 13 of Random Racing, 3 minute 55.867. So it is still pretty close, all truth be told, as here is the Brazilian racing team number 12 BMW And that has got Claudio Souza behind the wheel, a 3-minute 58.361. And they've got quite a big lineup in there.
Yeah, the Brazilian racing team didn't quite cover themselves in glory in Hockenheim, getting into lots of incidents, giving themselves a few penalties. But here at Le Mans, hopefully they'll be hoping to have a much cleaner race. Standing 13th in class so far, that car. So they'll be hoping to maybe gain a few places as this qualifying session goes into the approaches the final 10 minutes, actually, with 12 to go, I think.
Yeah, so in the Brazilian racing team number 12 BMW, Alessandro Barcelos, Emerson Luciani, Michael Arujo, Claudio Souza, and Laerton Barão. That is your lineup there. That's a 5-strong driver lineup. There are some teams that are actually in this air that are doing 2 drivers, and that's quite brave. You look at Madness Racing, the number 3 BMW, that's got Lucas Lichten and Chris Weston. I think, and then you've got the Absineo Force Polonia with Dziuba and Mantas Recus. As there is Andrei Verdani in the Just Racing team, BMW in the 96. They're currently P14, up on sector number 1 at the moment. So for those wondering at home, when you're seeing it at the bottom of your screen, a green is an improvement, a purple is the fastest sector out of that class. And at the moment, you said about Nakib Aslan from Axel Sports number 21, Arica, Ed, they have done a 3-minute 24.806.
So there we go.
We have 11.5 minutes in qualification.
Yeah, that's 3 tenths over Boda in second position in the Pimps Racing car, number 23. So that is looking like they're looking pretty confident at Axel Sports at the moment.
Yeah, they are indeed. And I'm just trying to have a look down. Josh Pervin in the sister car is currently 1.7 seconds off the pace as we head into the last 11 minutes of qualification here at Le Mans, Circuit de la Sarthe. But there's been some interesting talks during the driver briefing. There is a new development for round 6 here at Le Mans, as there will be 2 more rounds after this. There has been an introduction of slow zones. There are 3 that will run here. As Alex Skinner, our race director, was speaking to everyone in the driver's briefing, which I was privy to at the moment, that slow zones will utilise the same rules as a Code 80. Drivers will be required to slow down by a certain stage on the circuit and remain on the pit limiter until the designated end of the zone. He has said that if a driver is at full pace and he calls a slow zone and they're halfway through it, they have an opportunity to slow down. There's no overtaking. It's single file at all times. Also, the 3 slow zones, the first one will be from when the rear bumper of the car crosses under and clears the Dunlop Bridge all the way down to Tertre Rouge. Then you've got the second one, which will be Indianapolis to Arnage. And there is a detailed description of where exactly the slow zones are indicated. And then you've then got the final one, which is the Porsche curves to the pit entry lane.
Indeed, that's going to be very interesting. It could very well decide the race if some of the leaders get caught in a slow zone at an inopportune moment. Also, it opens up lots of opportunities for pit strategy, which we've seen in several previous races. Some drivers have been used opportunistic or clever strategies to get to the front. Josh Kirby in his purple time in Sector 1, 31.923. He's come through Sector 2 also on a personal best, 81.056. So he's looking good to get the other Axel Sports car up into possibly the top 3 if he can get to the end of this lap. But yeah, really impressive time there from Josh Perry.
Yeah, I think he was a 10.5 quicker than Zoltan Border in the Pimps Racing 123 Oreca LMP2. And then it was effectively close to 2.5 tenths. So Josh has gained in the first sector as Andrei Verdani comes across the start-finish line. Looks to be an improvement here. A 3-minute 58.591 doesn't improve in terms of the class positioning. Still 14th in GT3 as we go into the last 8 minutes and 40 seconds. But yeah, perfect. Josh is the one that we're really looking for now, is to see how he improves. And if it gets to be an Axel Sports front row, here is Josh. So he's coming in through the latter part of the circuit. Looks to be the Porsche curves, and then the Virage du Pont, where Benoit
look at that change of direction. He's the little twitch coming out there.
Yeah, on the coming through the Virage du Pont, where Benoit Trullier made one of the most fantastic overtakes I've ever seen at Le Mans in the Audi R18 e-tron Quattro a few years ago. As he comes through, bouncing off the curbs, he's really hustling the car across the start-finish line. Let's see. That is a 3
fourth
minute
place.
20. That's fourth place. That's really good. But he lost out because that was a bit of a, I would say, a bit of a messy third sector because he lost 0.34 of a second to Zoltan Boda. If he had got 0.4 of a second, if he hadn't lost that time, he would have been on a par with Zoltan Boda in that lap. And he's still got 7 minutes and 30 to go. So there is an opportunity. He's going to warm up the
Might be able to
tyres.
get 2 more attempts there to get that one right. But do you think that twitch in that final sector was what cost him there?
I think the mistake coming out, the change of direction through Virage de Pont unsettled the back of the Eureka, and then all of a sudden he's had to act and have cat-like reflexes, and that might have just caught him out ever so slightly. And then coming through, the Ford corners, in the last chicane, that was where it really, you could tell that he'd walloped that curb with the right-hand side of the car. And as you can see, Kalosai from Fancy Esports in the number 5, currently 8th, fastest in sector number 2, goes P3. That's a great lap time, a 3 minute 25.441. Top 3 now separated by 0.635 of a second. And we're into the last 6.5 minutes or so of qualifying. That was an impressive lap from the Fancy Esports number 5.
It was indeed. David Kolokchuk, also really impressive in Hungary, able to end up on the podium, I believe, at the very end. The Fancy Esports locked out second through to fourth in LMP2 back there. But, looking back to GD3, it's still James Duba who's extended his gap to 8/10 over Gergo Kovacs. So this is looking really tidy for Abstinio Force Polonia number 35. And meanwhile, the LMP2 sister Abstinio Force Polonia, Danny Robbins, is running 8th in LMP2, the number 10 car. So they are about 2 seconds, or just under 2 seconds actually, more like 1.5, wouldn't it? Behind the whole time.
Yeah,
so they've got a little bit to catch up there, but still looking like they've got GD3 pretty much sewn up. Kovacs, Ericsson, Eisman, and Wozniak, which are all that's second down to about 4th in GD3. They are within almost. They're very the top. Sorry, I'm getting all mixed up here. The top 3 are very close together. I think Wozniak is about 7/10 behind, but Eisman and Ericsson are very close in the battle for second place. Only 0.003 of a second in it, which is pretty impressive considering how long this lap is, especially for the GD3 cars. It's even longer, so nearly 4 minutes, of course.
Yeah, I think also Zander Lengyel.
I've just seen James Duba go very wide at that corner where we saw
that. 5 minutes to go in quali, and he now escapes and ends up going into the pits. Here is Josh from Axel Sports once again. There's Clay Hatch from the IDOS 317. They're currently P6 at the moment on an out lap, so you can tell that Josh Perrian and the other guys are all getting ready. They're steeling themselves. This is where that crucial lap time needs to come in, and Josh now has an opportunity to get himself, I think he's got a chance. Anyone's got a chance at pole position because he's now going to try come through the Virage du Pont. There's Pon Robert from the Venturo number 34. They are currently in 11th place, 3.1 seconds off. Brett Clark has just done a personal best in Sector 2. Pascal Egert in the Fina Avant Racing. That's basically fine evening.
Thanks Dutch to team, of course.
Exactly. It's good to have a bit of Dutch culturalism, as always, especially normally it's the Netherlands guys of Jan Lammers, Guido van der Garde and Frits van Erdicht, and also Nick de Vries, amongst other people. So good to see that a bit of Dutch humour is injected into one of the team names.
They're on a bit of a roll, in fact, the Frinavon Racing, because Egert and his teammate Peter Schoenman were able to get, I believe, 5th or 6th place in LMP2 overall. They were really competitive, actually, and made very few mistakes, considering those around them kept losing their heads over that 6 hours in Hockenheim. So they'll be hoping to really come through the field here, although they are down in 15th at the moment. But yeah, I think going back to that battle with the top drivers, it seems I could really see this being a battle of attrition between Axel Sports and Fancy Esports. All have got 2 cars near the front at the moment. I think Sultan Boda and the Pimps Racing Hungary will be hoping to maybe just get those 2 temps on Neko Baslan and just snatch pole from him. But it's going to take one hell of a lap to do that. If these drivers, if they've been holding anything back, they need to release it now as we go into the final 3 minutes of qualifying.
Brett Clark from SRD Esports in the 99 about to complete a hot lap up in both sectors 1 and 2. Is it an improvement? Yes, it is. That is a 3 minute 26.867. Puts the 99 SRD Esports Eureka up into P9 off of P10. So that was a great improvement there. Yeah, Fina Armand took 5th last time out.
That was it, sorry. I remember them dropping to 6th at one point for some reason, but yeah.
Yeah. Now, there have been some words with regards to the drivers before they got qualifying underway, as Brett Clark has a little bit of a twitch there. That was heading into towards the far side of the circuit through Chetra Rouge, as he now heads on.
He's not done yet, is he? He was more than 9th. Whoa, going wide as well on the entry to Mulsanne.
But this is where he's going to make up the time, even though they've got the 2 chicanes here. It's going to be quite interesting how fast Brett Clark is going to push it down here at the Mulsanne Straight.
Yeah, climbing up to obviously the average lap times is 330 for Neko Baslan. They're leading at 330.8 kilometers per hour. Of course, I forget what that is in miles per hour, but
well, 300 miles an hour is 180. 300 kilometers an hour is 186, if memory serves me correctly. So at the moment, Pribek Zolt in the Fancy Esports 88 has one of the fastest recorded top speeds.
Well, that shows he's very good going on to Mulsanne then.
205.65 miles an hour. That's the fastest speed we've had at the moment. No, actually, Patrick Silvazzi in the 888 is the fastest driver in the circuit when it comes to the Eurekas. And that is a 332. So that's over 206.5 miles an hour. Tsuba around the final couple of corners and is now going to start his
that's a little wide.
That was definitely a run-off and a half there, but at least it wasn't on his fastest lap, as he'll head through into the Dunlop curve for the first time.
Yeah, but the James Stewart really showing a lot of confidence in that BMW at the moment, and that's why he's on pole by the margin that he is. He just got that chicane perfect, hit both apexes, give himself plenty of time. He looks very confident right now.
I think with the way that BMW is planted, it's pretty good.
And that is going to be very ominous for all of his rivals, of course, who are going to have to spend a long 24 hours chasing his tail, hoping that he hits trouble.
Yeah, I completely agree there. But at the end of the day, we both know that with how things are going to go over the course of the 24 hours, anything can happen. Zuber could come under pressure in the first few moments.
Well, Zuber and his teammate are both going to be, Mantis Rikas, are both going to be doing the whole race by themselves. So, of course, that's a lot of strain on anybody having to do 12 hours of a 24-hour race at a minimum. We'll have to see how they manage that. But, they are two extremely, confident again. I think they're both... I wanted to say something that implied that they're very good at endurance. They've both got a lot of stamina in the car, and they're able to keep going for long, extended periods of time. So I think the two of them will be able to manage just fine. But the others will be hoping that a bit of fatigue creeps in later in the race. But at the moment, he seems fresh as a daisy, James Duber, as he's of course even set up a class best time in the first sector. So. To see if he can make anything of that. LMP2 looks a bit more solid. Everyone coming through now. I think David Kolokshire has just set a better time, but he hasn't gained a place, so he's still down in 4th in the Fancy Esports car. The thing that interests me as well is Denny Eshenko in the RSS Unison Racing 717. I believe they're leading the Drivers' Championship, or Teams Championship rather, in LMP2, and they're down in 15th place, so... he's on a better lap at the moment, personal best in both sectors, but he's going to be hoping to get closer towards the top 10 and give himself a better starting position for the race, but not an ideal start for RSS Unison Racing.
Very much the case. Checkered flag is out. Juba has gone over 2/10 quicker in the second sector here at Le Mans. So this could be a really good lap. Silvassi goes up to P8. Brett Clark drops back down to 10th place. But this is the eyes that we need to keep ours firmly fixed on, really, because now he's coming into the final part of the lap here at Le Mans.
Yes, and just a reminder, we'll be leaving very soon after this session ends to go to the next stream, which will obviously be the race. But yeah, here we go. Juba really looking to finish his lap and completely blow the opposition out of the water. He's going to get into the 351s. You wouldn't think you'd be able to go that quickly in a GT3 car, but Juba is really testing the laws of physics today.
Yeah, approaching 260 kilometers an hour plus as he heads into the Porsche curves. Drops down to fourth gear, still keeping it planted, and on the speedo it's saying nearly 140 miles an hour as he exits through. This is pure commitment. This is how you hustle your way through the Virage du Pont, the Porsche curves, as the essays de karting, as the Le Mans International Circuit, named after the late Alain, the current Alain Prost, the four-time Formula One world champion, is not too far in realistic terms, but Juba on a hot lap. He has not let go. He wants to improve, and I think you might be right, Ed, as we come into the final chicane here, the Virage du Raccordement here at Le Mans. Let's see if we get into the 351s in GT3. It is! It is!
Wow.
It's a personal best at 351.861. That has secured pole position for Abstineo Force Polonia in the 35 BMW M6 GT3. That was a brilliant lap, but it was the commitment through the Porsche curves and the Virage du Pont that clearly showcased that the 35 in GT3 is the one to watch this coming 24 hours
Indeed,
of Le Mans.
but look, just behind him, Billy Eisman in the GRG Sports has set a very nice time here at 52.9 to go second in class in GT3. So not quite the incredible. He's only a second and a 10th, but that's still a huge gap for James Huber and Abstineo Force Polonia. Meanwhile, while we had our attention on that, the LMP2 class, Neko Baslan was able to do that time. The 324.8 was enough for pole, but Josh Perwine was able to get into second place with a 325.044. So he did finally execute on that promising pace to only a 2/10 shy of his teammate. But that's Axel Sports locking out the front row. And of course, they're from Zoltán Boda in the Pimps Racing Hungary. Then it's the Fancy Esports cars of David Kolokshai in number 5 and Roland Suzuki in number 66 Fancy Esports. Then we got Che Hatch, who was involved in a great GT3 battle last time out at Hockenheim in 6th. Privek Zolt in Fancy Esports 88. Patrick Silvazzi in Fancy Esports 888. Danny Robbins in Abstineo Force Polonia number 10, and Brett Clark in SRD Esports number 99, rounding out the top 10. So Denny Yashenko was able to improve to 12th in number 717, but didn't quite get into that top 10. So there we go. We're going to the warm-up now, but that is qualifying.
Yeah, so Paul Robert in the... So let's have a look. This is for GT3. James Zuber from Abstineo Force Polonia in the 35 takes a fantastic 3-minute 51.861 to put it on pole here at Le Mans, ahead of Billy Eisman from GRG Esports in the 97. Gergo Kovac in the Fancy Esports GT3 29. Jesper Eriksson in the IDOS 117 McLaren. Ferenc Christian Kabay in the Fancy Esports GT3 28 McLaren. Zandor Lengyel in the Pimps Hungary Racing 22, Michael Wozniak in the Solo Sport Racing number 14, Lorenzo De Cutis in the DDOS Racing McLaren, with Christian Lewis in the IDOS 217 McLaren 720, Lukas Lichten from Madness Racing in the number 3, rounding out the top 10. Then we go to Alexei Spirichev from the RSS Uni Racing Aston Martin in 11th, ahead of Michal Raza. Claudio Souza from BRT in 13th, ahead of Andrei Verdani from Just Racing Team in the 96. Magnus Kunnerup in the 720S GT3 from 360. And Julian Frack from the GRG Esports McLaren in the number 97, rounding out the 16 cars, with Frack not setting a qualifying time. But leading the way, it is an Axel Sports front row lockout, with Nakib Aslan ahead of Josh Pervin in the respective cars. Zoltán Boda from Pimps Racing Hungary 23. David Kalosai from the Fancy Esports number 5. Laurent Zux from Fancy Esports 66. Clay Hatch from the IDOS 317. Pribek Zolt from Fancy Esports 88. And then it's the Fancy Esports 888 entry, the same number that was run in V8 Supercars by Craig Lowndes. Patrick Silvazzi, Danny Robbins from Abstineo Force Polonia in the number 10, and Brett Clark from SRD Sports 99 round out the top 10 positions in LMP2. Ahead of Paul Roberts in the 34 Venturo, Denis Eshenko from the RSS Union Racing 717, Jake Denahan from the Reading Game Studios Racing 87 entry, Gilbert Posmic from Hyper Endurance Team number 14, Dom Tranquil from SRD Esports in the 53, with Pascal Eggert from Fina Avant Racing in the number 137, Dane Baird from IDOS 417, and Reading Game Studio Racing's number 86 entry, with Tom Dillon behind the wheel, qualifying in P18.
And there we go. What an impressive grid that is, actually, Alex, for a really interesting order. I did not expect to see Axel look out the front row. I was kind of expecting Game Stupid to set a monster of a lap, but not even that good as well. So a lot of really big surprises there, and I think it's going to be a really enthralling 24 hours. I just hope as many of them make it to the end as possible, because once we get to those closing stages, it could get very interesting, as it always seems to in these long endurance races. Bizarrely, you would expect them all to be spaced out by the end, but they all seem to converge for some reason, for whether it be through penalties, different tire strategies, or what have you. They always seem to be right there at the end.
Indeed. Well, that's it for qualification here for round 6 of the EERC Endurance Championship here at Le Mans for 2020. We get going at 2 p.m. British Summer Time. That's 3 p.m. Central European Summer Time. Join us all then as we start our 3-part adventure here at Circuit de la Sarthe in Pays de la Loire for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. We'll be back in just a few moments' time.